Welcome to Gapology Radio with your hosts Mark Tinas and Brian Brokoff, authors of the leadership development books Gapology, IMBAR, and Speed of Purpose. At Gapology, our purpose is to help leaders achieve their greatest potential. To learn more about our groundbreaking books and training services, visit our website, gapology.org.
Hey everybody, welcome to Gapology Radio. As you're looking at professional or team development opportunities this year, think about layering in Gapology. Our simple process, tips, and tools layer in very nicely with other in-house development or even off-the-shelf programs. Leading people is at the core of most programs, and many can be aligned to support one another. If you'd like to learn more, check out our website, gapology.org, or reach out directly to us, and one of our coaches will get back to you to see how we can help. And as for tonight, we're wrapping up our short series on tips for emerging leaders by discussing a very relevant and important topic, reducing stress. We'll share some strategies for leveraging your leadership rhythm to create stability in the face of a sometimes chaotic time in your leadership life. So let's go ahead and get things rolling with Mark Tinas. Hey Mark, how are you doing?
Good, Brian. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for tonight. I had a conversation, which I shared with you just the other day. It was an emerging leader, which is exactly what we've been talking about here on the podcast over the last few weeks. And what was interesting, this person was just sharing how stressful it's been for him to step into this new role. It's been a little bit of a different role, something that he hasn't really done in the past. He's had leadership experience, but this particular role has been different. It's been very stressful. And, it made me think about leadership rhythm and how that can really impact at least the things with the team that they can really count on, to help reduce some of that stress with the team. And then I think that would in turn reduce some stress with him. So it was kind of my thought process, but I'd love to hear your thoughts and see what you think with leadership rhythm and how that can impact stress.
Yeah, I think leadership rhythm is a stress reliever, both for the leader and for the team.
Yeah.
I mean, it just adds a clarity that isn't there otherwise. So yeah, let me walk you through some of my notes on.
Okay, cool.
So as an emerging leader, if you create a rhythm, so just think of it initially as how your week's structured. If you structure your week in a predictable format and create a rhythm that the team is aware of and that they understand, it can really set you apart from other leaders, especially emerging leaders. So they don't think of rhythm as something that they would do, but it is absolutely critical. It is an absolute game changer, stress reliever, to Brian's point, but it also will set you apart in terms of results. So a leader's rhythm is designed to communicate what's important. And believe it or not, people observe your behavior and they watch what you do, and what you find that matters and what you go to, the team sees. And if it's chaotic and random, that creates stress in the team and ultimately stress for you. But if it's predictable and clarifies what's important, everything changes.
Yeah, I think that is critical. So the chaos and randomness, I mean, those things go together, right? So being random creates chaos and all that. If you're living that day after day after day, of course, it's going to drive up the stress level with the team.
Yeah, totally. So don't be random. Don't vary your behavior. That creates chaos. And chaos in the team creates gaps, because the gaps are created when the team is not clear on what matters. And your rhythm as a leader will tell them what matters. So be predictable. And this is something they don't teach you in business school. They don't teach you as an emerging leader to be predictable. Being predictable is an amazing attribute for a leader. It relieves stress in the team, relieves stress in you, and it causes great performance.
Yeah. So being predictable. So that's interesting I can see where some leaders might think, you know what, let's keep them guessing. Let's, keep them off their guard.
Keep them
a
on
little
their
bit.
toes.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think that drives up that stress level. And in today's world, we're so focused on retention and hiring, and all of that comes from employee engagement. If we're not driving employee engagement in our teams, we're going to have that turnover. So I think being predictable will help, alleviate that stress and so forth. And I think that'll absolutely help employee engagement overall.
Yeah, I would agree. So if a leader's rhythm is equal to the expectations and makes the expectations clear, and Brian and I always talk about 3 to 5, clear expectations, that leads to the behavior that's desired. So think about that for a minute. So your behavior as a leader, your rhythm, if it's designed around the expectations, it makes the behaviors of the team very clear. So what emerging leaders don't realize often is that what you do and what you say and what you don't do and what you don't say screams volumes to the team.
Yeah.
So if your rhythm is always about the expectations and the behaviors that equal the expectations, everything changes.
Oh, that is so critical. When we think about rhythm, a lot of times we think about schedules and, being on purpose about what you're doing when, but building it around those things that are most important, those, expectations that you're setting for your teams. I think that really is that due north that you're pointing toward.
Yeah. So that's a great way to look at it. So where you spend your time as an emerging leader is clear to the team, and it communicates very clearly what matters. So think about where you spend your time. Mm-hmm. So when you're with your team, when you're with those that report to you or those that you influence, what's your focus? What do you spend your time on? If it's around those expectations, that screams loudly that they matter. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be predictable. You've got to have a rhythm. And again, I would start by just structuring the week to matter, to make the expectations matter, and to be very clear to the team on what matters. And the week gets easy, and you can then take that to the month, to the quarter, to the year, etc. But start with the week. And if your weeks are predictable, they create the behavior of the team. And again, most emerging leaders do not know that. A simple example would be, let's say that you rank and publish every Monday the expectations, and the team therefore gets ranked and it's published. And you speak to it and you talk about the behaviors that equal those things every Monday. So they know it's coming next Monday and the Monday after that and so on. What that does is that shapes the behavior of the team for the entire week leading up to Monday, because they know that you've communicated what matters. Total game changer, total way to be the number one executor and results producer, because you've created a rhythm as simple as Monday equals the results and the publishing and the ranking, etc.
Yeah, I think all that ties to really what you said before. So what you do and say and what you don't do and don't say screams volumes. I wrote that down. I thought that was genius. I'm scribbling really quickly here. Oftentimes leaders, they're really good at saying things, do this, do that, whatever, right? But it's what you do that reinforces what you say that creates that motivation, that belief, that drive around the things that are the most important. And when you don't say and you don't do and don't support those things, that does scream volumes about what's not important. And I think part of that do and say thing is that publishing and that ranking of the results, because that does reinforce what you've been talking about all along.
Yeah. Brian and I at one time worked for a leader who held a Monday 4:00 meeting. And in that Monday 4:00 meeting, we would present our work and results on 3 specific KPIs every Monday. So we knew next Monday we would do the same. The first thing that occurred to me was, okay, I'm going to separate myself from the rest of this group, and I'm going to dominate in those three KPIs. And of course I did. And the other thing that I did was I developed the behaviors that equaled those three KPIs. Why did I do that? Because I knew on Monday I had to present around that. His rhythm, his simplicity of a 4:00 Monday meeting created a rhythm in me of working on that. And through that, we created results that dominated the industry. So his rhythm changed everything. So emerging leaders don't really know this. They don't think about it. And it is a total game changer. And rhythm matters. And again, you talk about stress release. Imagine how much stress is relieved, I guess, when your team knows what matters to you, when you're dominating in results. It feels so much better than being last place or not knowing what matters. So when you know what matters, because the leader has a rhythm, it feels so good. Imagine just knowing what your boss wants. How awesome is that?
Yeah. What a concept.
What a concept.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking as you're saying that, if just picture the environment, if it was a little bit different. So if every Monday you had a 4:00 call, but you never knew what the boss was going to ask, you never knew what expectation was important to the boss that week. What stress would that create? I mean, that'd be insane. You'd be trying to prepare, a million different things just in case he wanted to talk about it. But
and that exists out there.
Yeah.
What you're describing actually exists out there, and it does not work.
No,
it does not work.
Yeah. Yeah. That predictability, that consistency, that's the stuff that will reduce stress for your teams. And then for yourself as well. So as a leader, if you are predictable, you create a cadence, a system around the things that you do. That's less that you have to try to kind of wing, you prepare for it. You count on that stuff. I mean, that is a major, major stress reliever to be able to do that.
Yeah. So we were really good in this scenario we're describing, and we had a weekly rhythm, which rolled into a monthly rhythm. We then had a quarterly rhythm, which was a little bit different, and we added some other things. An example would be in the quarterly rhythm, we added a 9-boxing, which is a ranking of our team, a 9-boxing, which would occur for certain levels, which clarified to the leadership what needed to be done in terms of developmental plans, etc. And it was incredibly meaningful. And we knew it was coming each quarter. So knowing out in advance, it caused us to get a bit ahead of it. And because we were ahead of it, when it came, it was easy, it was stress-free, and it was incredibly productive. So again, as an emerging leader, start first with the week, look at the month, look at the quarter, look at the year, and it's a game changer. Brian and I worked for a company at one point where we knew that the year-end award would be given to the person that achieved the best results in these areas, and that we would fly to a resort and award that person, a trophy and accolades, etc. And we knew all year long what we were looking for. That rhythm, year long, affected behaviors and again created industry leading results. And it's so simple, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So don't be random, be predictable.
Mm-hmm. As emerging leaders, so I don't think they always think that long term. They're in the moment, they're reacting, right? But if you can break your year down into weeks and then expand that into a month and expand that into a quarter, what you're doing is you're providing the information then to be able to do the next step. So if you're meeting with your team every week and you have a predictable thing that you're, predictable expectations, predictable metrics that you're measuring, recognition and all those things, that sets up your monthly analysis and your monthly feedback sessions and those kinds of things, which then sets up your quarter and your year. So I think they all go together. So as an emerging leader, I think it's important to understand that you're no longer a individual contributor. You are operating at a different level. And part of that responsibility is being strategic. And a leadership rhythm will reduce the stress on a daily basis, but also in that long-term planning process that you need to be working on.
No, I love that. I would summarize that as start with the week.
Mm-hmm.
Just start with the week. Create a rhythm for the week. Brian and I work with organizations today that don't publish results right now until the month is over.
Yep.
They wait a month.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to course correct. It's stressful. Break it down into weeks and make changes based on what you learn from the top performers. Spread that through the whole group, and you can change the results long before the month.
Right.
Try and tighten the time frame. There are companies that look at just the quarter or just the year. Boy, you better have the behavior and all those pieces in place, or it will not work. You'll be behind the curve. Right. So again, as an emerging leader, tighten the time frame. You certainly could look at your daily rhythm and carve that, though, into a weekly rhythm, because each day is not the same. And again, it will feel good for your team. They'll understand what matters. It will feel good for you, and you'll be very much attuned to where the results are, how you're performing, what needs to change, what behaviors need to shift. And it creates great results.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a conversation earlier this week. A friend of mine, a colleague of mine, she gave a presentation on work journaling. So work journaling. So and how impactful that can be on your career. Just documenting on a daily basis the things that you're achieving, things that you're working on, and all those things. And I thought that's a really cool concept. So thinking about if you started with just a simple journal, and then taking that, and then when you're doing your weekly analysis and building your rhythm for the coming week, you've got some information. So you don't have to have knee-jerk reactions on a day-to-day basis, but you're analyzing it, you're thinking about it, and then you are creating more of that weekly rhythm process from that. I thought that was actually a great tip from her.
Yeah, I think the learning from that, stress release, stress reduction, same for the team, leaders sharing with the team what they've learned throughout the week. I think it works.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it works. Often we make things more difficult than they are.
Yeah.
When you narrow your role and your team's role down to 3 to 5 KPIs, and you define the behaviors of that, and then you break it down into what each week looks like, things get simpler. And when things get simpler, everybody feels better, and you can move things quick.
Yeah, absolutely. This is excellent. I think this will be very impactful.
Yeah. Thanks for your time. Well done.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Mark. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay. Talk to you then.
Okay. Bye. All right. That'll do it from here. For more information on leadership rhythm, check out our book, Gapology. You can find it on Amazon.com or head on over to our website, gapology.org. Everyone have a fantastic week. We'll talk to you soon.
This has been a Gapology Institute production. Visit us at gapology.org.